Session 2, Administration and Politics. Introduction. In the previous study session, we examined administration and policy, the types of administration, as well as their common features and differences. In this study session, we will relate how administration gets involved with politics and also examine the argument involved in politics and administration dichotomy. Learning outcomes. When you have studied this study session, you should be able to discuss the reasons for the dichotomy between politics and administration. Definition of politics. Different people have given different interpretations for the term politics. One of such interpretations was given by David Easton. He defined politics as the authoritative allocation of values. Harold Laswell also described politics as the process of determining who gets what, when, and how. The Longman Dictionary of Contemporary English also described politics as the activities of people in a group, organization, etc. that are concerned with gaining personal advantage. One possible implication of all these definitions is that politics exists in all social groups. Examples are family or companies. This is because there is none as yet a human organization in which the available elements of power are enough to go around. Consequently, there is always some form of contention or struggle over the available power. We must also note that every organization needs an acceptable mechanism to regulate the inevitable conflicts over power and to efficiently allocate the scarce resources. In all the definitions of politics given above, together with that of administration that had earlier been explained in study session 1, we realize a single fact that politics and administration involve some activities set in motion to achieve targeted goals and objectives. Dichotomy between politics and administration. There has been debate on the position of politics and administration, and the debate came about because of the following reasons. 1. The different perspectives of scholars as to what politics is to administration. 2. There was the need to make public administration a separate field apart from the main parental body, which is political science. Argument for politics and administration dichotomy. One of the scholars that raised argument in support of the dichotomy between politics and administration was Woodrow Wilson. He developed certain propositions for his stance, and they include: 1. That there is a clear distinction between politics and administration. 2. That politics set the task or policies that administrators follow. Therefore, they are distinct from each other. 3. That administration should be outside the domain of politics. 4. That administrative questions are different from political questions. That is, the questions of administrators are different from those of politicians. 5. That since policy formulation belongs to politicians, while administrators implement the agenda set by politicians, administrators are confined to the functions of implementing the decisions of politicians. Argument against politics and administration dichotomy. Some authors have argued against Woodrow Wilson's propositions. One of such authors is Appleby in 1949. He submitted that the dichotomy between politics and administration was greatly exaggerated because politics and administration are related. To him, as policy and administration are interwoven, so also are politics and administration. Also, to Feiner, a German, the functions being performed by administrators are similar to those of politicians. The problems thrown up by these two arguments was on who takes the leadership position between the administrators and the politicians that formulate the policies. It also brought about the question of the enormity of government interference. To many scholars, government intervention was needed to manage the growing urbanization, housing, education, and security which were considered as the basic needs of man. Again, politicians are held accountable to the people, and they have to formulate good policies that the administrators can implement. When it comes to the importance of one position being superior to the other, both groups are highly essential to the attainment of set goals in the society. There were, however, some scholars that contested against the idea of administrators acting under the influence of bureaucratic rationality. For example, Charles Ludlum in 1959 contested that rather than decision makers going to the root and gathering all the needed information, what they actually do is make marginal decisions. He said that an administrator is constrained by his own limited capacity, time, and bias. He is also constrained by guidelines and laid down principles. All these constraints make it difficult for an administrator to change things. Instead, what they do is muddle through the process, that is, trial and error. Therefore, there is no rationality. Reflection. The dichotomy between politics and administration was greatly exaggerated because politics and administration are related. To him, as policy and administration are interwoven, so also are politics and administration. Secondly, it is noted that administrators work to achieve public intervention, and once applied, the organization's goals become your goals. This then means that administration can develop its own incentives, that is, problems, e.g., nepotism and corruption. The problems that contribute to the interests of the public is traded off. Again, studies have shown that not all public servants operate on organizational rules. Sometimes they elevate private or personal interests above public interests. General trend of politics and administration. There are common or general trends that exist in politics and administration. Some of them are examined as follows. 1. Political sessions go in agreement or intermingle with administrative sessions. For instance, administrators have the privilege of taking independent decisions so far they are relevant to organizational goals. 2. Public administrators are always involved in policy formulation process, that is, the analysis and data gathering. In addition to this, the information needed form part of the input to the policy process. The expertise of administrators cannot be overruled in policy formulation, even though they are involved in policy implementation. 3. In the final analysis of policy implementation, the administrator's function is very vital. This is because it is the politician that is directly accountable, and the people expect nothing less than the best from the executive, that is, the politicians. They need to work hand in hand in order to achieve the expected goals. It is therefore wrong to say that politics can be separated from administration, since they are both expected to work for the common goal of the policy. They are coordinates. Policy formulation and implementation should be seen as two sides of one coin, just as Appleby rightly submitted. Overview of coordination of politics and administration in Nigeria. In Nigeria, politics and administration can be observed not to be properly coordinated. The following reasons account for why politics and administration are not coordinated in Nigeria. 1. Low educational background of political executives. It has been established that there is low educational attainment for majority of the political executives. In Nigeria, the constitution is now being adjusted in order to address this anomaly. 2. Preoccupation of the political group with politics and political games. In Nigeria, like in some other developing countries, there is always a struggle for survival among politicians since they always want to remain on top of the political hierarchy. This makes them to have little regard for administrative duties. 3. Preoccupation with political issues. The politicians are more busy with political issues and threats. Therefore, engaging in executive or administrative functions become problematic. 4. Little access to independent information. Politicians have to rely on administrators for necessary information and data before formulating any policy. All the points raised contribute to the reasons why politicians still depend on administrators in Nigeria. Study session summary. In this study session, you explored the relationship between politics and administration. Politics and administration work together for the collective goals of an organization to be achieved. End of study session 2. Thanks for listening.